Hey guys, Uncommon Ramen here. Today I wanted to take a look at DC Deck Building Multiverse box. I did do an unboxing for this some time ago, but after doing the unboxing and then taking a look at the rules and reading it, I realized that that was kind of not doing it justice. So I figured instead what I would do is replace that unboxing with an overview of the DC Deck Building game with the Multiverse box. One thing I will say is that I did the unboxing when this first came out, and it has been a while since it came out, so I apologize for the length of time that has been. But hey, let's just take a look, yeah? So first thing you're going to notice is that this box is massive, which it should be because, like they said in their description for this, that it was supposed to be able to hold everything that is the DC deck building universe in it, and once you take a look on the inside, you'll see that it does in fact do that. So this is all the rule books and whatnot, but once you open it up, you'll see that there's a lot of stuff in here. Really quick, I'll show you these little dividers here. These are plastic. These are not cardboard, and they're actually really thick plastic. It's very high quality. Each one of these dividers does have a depiction of the picture that was on the cover of these boxes. So it's pretty cool. They included a divider for every set that was available, and they even included the Birds of Prey divider, even though the Birds of Prey set hadn't come out yet. Two dividers you'll see that I'm not using right now are the Rivals divider, and it's not because I don't have the Rivals. I actually do right here. But the problem is that there is a new Rivals master set coming out, and I didn't want to put the Rivals in here and then find out that they actually had room for the Rivals in the new master set. So I decided to wait on that and see if it'll fit in there, because I'd rather put it with the rest of the Rivals. And then, of course, the last divider I'm not using is the Arrow crossover pack. And the only reason I'm not using this is because, honestly, they chose to use stills from the live action show. I think aesthetically that really detracts from the game, because everything else literally in this game is all illustrated. So this crossover pack with the small amount of cards that it has would be the only set that used actual live action in it. And I don't know. I can't fit my head around it. I don't like it. That's just me. My opinion. Really sorry about that. If you remove all these tokens, you'll notice that I have a place for all of the oversized cards in here. They fit pretty well. You'll also notice they included a divider for the oversized cards, so they did obviously take into consideration that these had to be in the box as well. You'll also notice a divider for the Multiverse. These are cards that were added with this box. So when you buy this box, you'll get these cards, and I'll go through those really quick in just a moment. And then they also included a divider for randomizers. The randomizers are the reason that I don't think an unboxing does justice for this game, because the randomizers are used for a variant for this game that I think will be the default way I play this game from now on, because it's just a really interesting way to play it. So we'll go into more depth on that as well. But for now, just take a look at this. You'll notice these are all sleeved cards, except for part of the Birds of Prey. I ran out of sleeves. I have to go buy more. I know, big faux pas. But you'll see there's plenty of room for that, so no worries there. This is what it'll look like with every card available, all sleeved, except for Rivals, which I'm going to put in a different box, and the Green Arrow crossover pack. But crossover packs take up next to no room, and there's plenty of room for it, because you'll see here that they included these foam cubes. So if you remove these, there's extra room for new crossover packs or crises or whatnot. You'll also notice that I did not sleeve my oversized cards. The biggest reason I didn't sleeve them is because the sleeves that actually do fit those cards are a little bit bigger, and it just bothered me. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry for all those who are sleeve purists. If they make sleeves that are a little bit closer fitting, then I'll definitely put them in. But I don't. I don't like the penny sleeve feel. It's like putting trash bags around your cards. I don't like it. So let's take a look really quick at the Multiverse cards. Let me pull those out. So the way the Multiverse cards work, at the setup of every one of these games, you're going to take these cards right here. Oh, actually, I think it includes these ones too. My bad. Make sure I'm looking at the right cards. Everything up to here. So you're going to take all of these cards and you're going to seed them into half of the main deck. It instructs you to take the main deck, cut it in half, seed these into the top half of the main deck, and then place the that stack on top of the other half. So my guess is obviously that they want you to get to these cards. And we'll take a quick look. We got Blue Beetle here, Dick Grayson, Warlord, Batman Thomas Wayne from the alternate storyline, Jay Garrick, Red Sun Superman from alternate, Alan Scott, Green Lantern that doesn't get a whole lot of attention because of the way he got his Green Lantern. The Extremists, Weaponers of Quard. They were the ones that partnered with Sinestro to create the Yellow Ring. Brainiac Drones, Flashpoint Aquaman, Flashpoint Wonder Woman, the original Crime Syndicate prior to the New 52 look. You can tell they look very corny. I'm sorry, guys. Parallax. This is Parallax Hal Jordan, but Parallax is possessing him. Bizarro World, Moscow, Skartaris, Vanishing Point, and Follywood, California. So those will get added into, or I guess I should say seeded into the top part of your main deck, and I'll get into more detail on that. These are the new supervillains, and these are the only supervillains in the supervillain stack for a multiverse game, and that'll become more clear later when I explain the multiverse game. There's a reason why there's only 3 of them, not just speaking on cost, because like 15 obviously and 23 are some of the highest cost villains that I've ever seen, but yeah, there's a deeper reason why there's only 3 of these and why they're so expensive. And then you'll have a whole bunch of events that that basically are the different crises that happened over the DC universe. Future's End obviously goes near Convergence. So yeah, when you look at these all look familiar. The Flashpoint Crisis, Zero Hour Crisis, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis, Kingdom Come, The Blackest Night, New 52, Future's End, Convergence, and Rebirth. Rebirth is the newest in the line of DC Comics, so yeah, that's what you'll be seeing, what you should be reading currently. So that is the multiverse cards that come with the box, as well as several oversized cards in the form of multiverse locations. We'll go through these real quick. Metropolis, Flashpoint Gotham, Fawcett City, 30th Century Metropolis, Gotham City, Hub City, and Earth 2. Now, these multiverse locations in the multiverse game are going to be randomly distributed, just like the oversized heroes will be. and will also kind of sit alongside with the hero that you get until your location is lost, which I'll go into more detail when I get to that point. So why are the randomizers so important to me? Well, the randomizers are going to be the way that you choose the main deck that you're going to be using for your multiverse game, as well as any crises and crossover packs that you might also be using during that game. And they're also used in choosing the second lineup that shows up with the events. We saw them earlier with the different crises that happen throughout the DC universe. Those events will trigger a second lineup. So you have your normal 6-card lineup right here, and then you'll have a second lineup at the top that is represented for every event that happens. So I'll take a look inside the Multiverse rulebook so I can give you more details. So the object of the game changes a little bit here. You'll see here, if a player's final champion is defeated while Brainiac is on the supervillain stack, the game ends immediately. And you'll just start counting your victory points. So if somebody just like blitzes your champions and Brainiac, who is the top card on the main villain stack, is still there, and I'll explain what champions are too. I realize that telling you this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if Brainiac is still there when your champions are defeated, then that triggers the end game. If only one player has champions remaining on their stack, that player wins. You won't even count the victory points. So if everyone is just effectively attacking the leftmost champions, which is how this game works, and only one person's champions survive through that entirety of the onslaught, which is highly unlikely, that player just becomes the winner. And then last but not least, Deimos, which was the one that had 23 power, easily the hardest one to purchase. If he is defeated, it simply triggers the end game. All players will count up the victory points, and obviously the person with the most victory points is going to win the game. So how do the champions work? Well, when you have chosen your main deck, and I guess any of the crises or crossover packs that you want to add, you're going to take all the villains and or heroes, depending on if you chose what was the name of that expansion? Forever Evil. So depending on if you chose Forever Evil, you also have some heroes in there. And you're going to shuffle those together, and you're going to deal 3 out to each player. And they're going to... Well, actually, that's not completely true. You're gonna separate them into stacks of 9 cost, 10 cost, 11 cost. Then you're going to shuffle all those together and deal 1 of each cost to each player, and they're going to reveal the cheapest of them, the 9 cost card, and they're going to be in order. So they're going to show their 9 cost card, then the one next in line is going to be the 10 cost, and then the 11 cost. And these represent your champions. And when you're confronting a champion, you can only confront the champion of the person to your left. Each of these champions is protecting your convergence locations. So the green cards, the green oversized cards that I showed you earlier, they're protecting this location as well as your hero. Should you run out of these 3 champions, your location is going to get flipped face down and is lost. However, your character, the hero that you're playing, can still continue to play the game as normal. They just don't. They no longer have those champions. So the person who is to your right, who is attacking you, will instead attack the next subsequent player. And obviously following the rules here, if your champions are completely defeated and Brainiac showing, the game is done. Other than that, what you're going to have is at the beginning of the game, you're going to set up with you're going to use a randomizer to choose a set where you're going to set up 5 random cards. I think it's 5. For some reason I thought for sure it was 6, but I think it's 5 random cards from the set that you chose with the randomizer as a second lineup at the top above the main lineup. And those cards are available to purchase just like any of the cards that would be in the normal lineup. Once those cards are depleted, you're going to reveal an event. And the event is going to usually add a second lineup. And if it doesn't add a second lineup, what it's going to do is resolve its ability, and then you're going to reveal another event to add a second lineup. And to add the second lineup, it's the same thing as when you start the game. You're just going to take a randomizer card, pick 5 cards from the set the randomizer card indicates, and then throw them in a lineup at the top of the main lineup. The major differences between the main lineup and the top lineup is that the event lineup, which is the top one, will not refresh ever. So once the 5 cards have been purchased from that lineup, another event will happen and a new lineup will show up. Once you've run out of randomizers and events, you just simply shuffle them all back together and start over again. I think that's it as far as the event cards and the new lineup. And it what that does essentially is give you access to a whole bunch of cards from a whole bunch of different sets and universes, and kind of really changes the dynamic of this game. This also allows you to play the Rivals cards inside of a DC game, which previously that didn't mesh well. This allows you to add it almost seamlessly, because during a Rivals game, when you confront your opponent, the same rules apply to confronting a champion. So your leftmost opponent's champion, you can choose if you have confrontation cards or block cards. Let's go with confrontation cards for now. You can choose to announce ahead of time that you are going to be confronting the opponent's champion, and then you'll be able to use the confrontation cards. And likewise, your opponent can use their block cards to increase that champion's power. So it kind of seamlessly adds in the Rivals cards, and it gives you more of a reason to draft those cards when they show up, as opposed to just kind of ignoring them. The only difference between a confrontation in a Multiverse game versus a confrontation in a Rivals game is that if you don't have confrontation cards in your hand, you do not have to reveal immediately that you are confronting an opponent's champion. It would be just like confronting a supervillain in the supervillain spot. When you have a confrontation card in your hand, though, you do have to immediately announce this is how you're going to do it. Those are the major changes. You could still, even in a Multiverse game, add crisis cards and whatnot to make it even harder. There are also different difficulties. There's the standard game, short game, and impossible mode. But it plays with basically the same rules as the normal game as far as the drafting is concerned, with some minor changes that make the game, in my opinion, much more replayable. So my thoughts on that, and then this is the biggest reason why I felt like the unboxing doesn't do it a lot of justice, is after reading the rules, I've almost completely decided that this is the default way that I'm going to play this game, not just because I have so much content for it, but because to me it adds a whole new level of strategy, replay value, and almost random chaos, with the ability to buy cards from just about any set depending on how the event happens and so on. It does kind of force you, if you're using the randomizers, to use the original set, which I've almost completely stopped playing. And it kind of gives you a way to see how the game plays with everything without actually using everything, if that makes sense. I do really enjoy the way that they incorporated the rivals, and it's only going to get better when they release the big master box with I think there's like 7 or 9 different rivals that you can play, so that's going to be really cool. Just all in all, I think that it could have been a disastrous thing, but what ended up happening was they made it a really great seamless integration of everything that is DC, and the box itself, being as massive as it is, manages to hold literally everything that is in the DC universe right now, as far as the deck building game is concerned. So it's just a really cool concept. I really suggest taking a look at it. Let me know how you feel about it. If you've had a chance to play the Multiverse game, maybe I've missed something, looked over it. Let me know in the comments. I think there's a 50-50 divide between those people who like the DC deck building game versus those who like the Legendary deck building game. Having played both of them, I prefer the DC deck building game because I think it's quicker to set up and easier to break down. But I do see where there is merit for the Legendary deck building game. But I think I will almost always go with the DC deck building game, and especially with the Multiverse box, it adds a whole new depth and level to it. The Crisis alone already kind of did that, but this kind of just really takes it above and beyond. So I really am a big proponent for this. Check it out, see how it plays. Leave me some comments if you have any questions, concerns. If you like the video, I'd appreciate any likes, subscribes, and as always, until next time, peace.